And welcome to another episode of Road to November featuring the great Hamilton County Commission's President Alicia Reece, hosted by myself, Azizah Nubia. And thank you guys for tuning in for another amazing episode of Road to November. I'm hoping you guys are enjoying this series. I'm hoping you are loving the information and getting informed, because that was the main purpose for putting this together. But how are you doing today, Commissioner?
I'm doing great. I mean, we are, I'm still standing. We are less than 60 days from an election, a major election, and with new rules, new regulations, all kinds of tricks that are being played. And we just saw a historic presidential debate with Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, and versus Donald Trump. But for her to be the first Black woman to be able to be the nominee and to take on a very high profile debate. Tens of millions of people were watching. And we just had a great, we had a very good watch party. I was excited to be a part of and be a co-host, special guest. And it was put together by P.N. Everson Price and some outstanding ladies, and just had a great crowd. I mean, it was about 100 people, and I've never seen a watch party where we're by the pool and we're in Ohio. We're in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah.
And, it was great. They called it cocktails and conversations, and people were there and had great food. So it was just a great thing and a very serious debate. And I got a chance to speak before the debate about what to expect, what needs to happen after the debate, and to update people on these new voter ID laws that are in Ohio, and a new executive order that was put in place by the Republican Secretary of State over the Labor Day weekend. So just wanted to make sure everybody has the tools. When they say we fight, we win, but we got to have the tools to fight. That means we got to be registered. We've got to make sure we're on the voter roll still. We've got to know what the rules of the game is. So when we go over and exercise our right to vote, which is our fighting power, we're not being shocked and surprised that they say, oh, no, you're not on the roll, and it's too late. So we're working really hard to get the word out.
Yeah, man, we of course from that you can tell we have a lot to unpack tonight. But definitely take heed, check your voter ID. I was sharing with the commissioner earlier that I was telling my dad about all the changes, and he told me, look me up, see if I'm, on the list. And we looked him up and he was not there.
Wow.
He was not there. So I had to go get him registered again. And so it's very important. You can go to, I think, the hamiltoncounty.gov website. That's where I went. And it's very easy. You put in, your information and it'll let you know. And then if you're not on the list, just register. Make sure you register, because I think the deadline to register is October 6th. October 6th, yeah.
Is the last day. And we don't want to wait to the end. And what you just talked about is what we're seeing out here as we're interacting, and we call it double check your ID, your voter ID. And we have been finding that senior citizens, people who vote every single election, have been taken off the roll because they figure those are people who will not check because, you've been voting for 20 years or 30 years. Some have been voting for 40 and 50 years. They say, oh, they're not talking to me. And they are the ones that are being targeted. I'm even checking my ID because I'm not going to get over there and they pull a fast one on me, because it's too late. Once they start early voting, October the 8th, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that you're equipped and you're ready to vote. And you've got to, every person should just double check. It doesn't take much time. You can do it on your smartphone. And then if not, we can people can get you registered, or you can register. You can also register at the Board of Elections. I found out my neighbor, and she says she's been voting for over 30 years. And she just checked, just for the heck of it, because he had heard me, and come to find out she was off the roll. She said, "I'm on my way over there. She's about to cut up." I mean, I wouldn't want to meet her when she got to the Board of Elections. She could not believe something like that had happened. But these are the types of tricks and games that are going to be played. So, you know, great. We had a very good debate, but now it's in the hands of the people, and we've got to make sure we're ready to go.
Yes, most definitely. So, speaking of the debate watch party, y'all, I was there. Like Commissioner said, it was a vibe. I'm telling you, the pool was out. It was just decorated so nice. It was a big TV screen, and it was just a great time to just uh, be together in a different setting. And it was so many amazing women and men that showed up. I have a snippet of the conversation with you and Miss P. N. Everson Price. And I wanted to be able to share with everybody so you can check it out.
Black woman to be in the White House as the president of the United States of America. What we've got to make sure, though, that she's got the right team. We put in President Barack Obama in the White House. But when he got there, he had to fight because he didn't have the team. And so tonight, I'm just excited. I'm very excited this year. I had the honor of being on the ballot with President Barack Obama. And I have the honor of being on this historic ballot with Kamala Harris. And I'm excited. This is even another historical point that we have an HBCU graduate who will be the next president of the United States. Come on now. I'm excited because I am an HBCU graduate and the first to be elected as a Hamilton County Commissioner.
Oh, that's big, that's big.
And be the president of the commission.
That's big, that's big.
So when you look at the historical nature of this ballot that we have, we've got to turn up, turn out, and deliver.
All right, just remove that little snippet and get us back. But again, you had to be there to enjoy it. It was a great atmosphere. Like most people, when you go to fight parties and it's the food and you're sitting around people, yeah, that's exactly how it felt. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But I thought what was really interesting, seeing our leaders that are running our country having that HBCU background, I think that was really great. And it was good that you were able to bring that out and make those connections.
Yeah, I mean, this is historic election in so many ways. So many of the myths, just Kamala being in this position, standing up there as a Black woman to debate the issues, not debate just Black issues that affect Black people, but to debate the issues of the entire United States of America. Yeah. It shows that we can, and then showing that she was prepared, educated, confident, and basically getting rid of the myth that a Black woman cannot stand on stage toe to toe in a presidential debate and debate world issues, domestic issues, be able to have a debate strategy. Because like you mentioned earlier, a fight, I love boxing. Muhammad Ali is one of my favorite. Aaron Pryor, my father promoted his first professional fight. And so I knew him and grew up knowing him. So I used to watch boxing a lot. So strategy, when you're going in the ring, what is the strategy? And people were saying, well, will she be strong enough? She showed she was. Will she be intelligent enough? She showed she was. Does she know the issues? She showed that she does. Will she be prepared? Yes, she was. Will, all these things. Can she stand up to a Donald Trump? And she came in with a strategy, and the strategy was to do all of those things, answer all of those questions, but at the same time be on offense rather than defense.
Yeah.
She was able to get Donald Trump on defense while she stayed on offense. She was able to walk him into corners that he didn't know he was walking into, and then boom, he got hit with the trap. And you watched him just go crazy. You got to see what they tell us, where we have to be three times better. Well, that last night, this week, she was three times, four times, five times better. He was unprepared. He was mediocre. She had to be pristine. And so she was able to do all of those things. But also, when she walked across there, like I said, she broke a lot of glass ceilings. She also showed that the historically black colleges and the education system, which some will say, well, you go there, it's not going to give you, you won't have a chance to get the big job. Well, there's
Right.
nothing bigger than the presidency of the United States of America.
Yeah.
They will tell you if you go there, you won't get the opportunities. Well, this is one of the biggest opportunities you could have, being the president of the United States of America. So all of those myths go out the door. But she is a proud graduate of Howard University. I am a proud graduate of Grambling State University, and I turned down an Ivy League college. I had a scholarship to go, and I turned it down to go to Grambling at the last minute. I wanted to go to a black college in the South that will train me to be a majority thinker, but in the body of what the world sees. When they see this, they see minority. But
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to be a majority thinker. But understanding, because of this, I will have to overcome a lot of things, a lot of obstacles, sometimes unfairness. Um, there will be lots of obstacles. So how do I make it? I won't have as much money as the others, as my opponents. I won't have sometimes the support if I step out and go for something that's not a pigeon-holed position. Well, you need to stay in this area. Don't you jump over here. Um, and so, with all of that, understanding that people will tell you what you're not and what you can't do. So, the Black College prepares me for all of that, but also allows me to be a thinker, a majority thinker. And that's what she got when, she stepped on the stage, she stepped on toe to toe. And so I think it was this ticket is has a lot of components to it. But one of the things that for me to be on that same ballot, I'm the first HBCU graduate to ever be elected to the Hamilton County Commission.
Yeah.
And then, and then Kamala, the first HBCU to be a nominee for president of the United States. And you put those two together, it just makes that ticket, and to be on that same ticket with her, um, you know, right now we might not understand it, but like 20 years from now, people will be asking, what were
Yeah.
y'all doing? Just like we do with Dr. King. I asked my dad, what was it like? You was a young guy, but you were there. I mean, I never got to meet King. I only can read about him and see the movies. But what was it really like? And he could give me the behind the scenes. And people are going to say that about us. But there have been lots of great leadership that have come out of historically black colleges and universities. And
Mm-hmm.
just walking on the stage, uh, obviously reminds people of that.
Yeah, I thought that was a really great moment and definitely a good debate, very entertaining. I kept telling everybody, I said, whatever goes on last night is going to be the talk of the town today. And that's definitely what it was. The interesting thing that Ohio came up a lot in the debate. Now, one with the immigrations and the shots at the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, which is not too far from here in Cincinnati, saying that they were eating pets. But how important is Ohio, do you think, in this political race on, I guess, I know for the presidential election, they usually say Ohio is a swing state, but now how do you foresee that?
Yeah, we're right now we're no longer in terms of what happened in the last two presidential elections. Ohio went extremely red.
Mm.
And so people then began to, when you look at the national analysts and consultants, it used to be a time you could not get to the White House if you don't win Ohio. Now the Democrats have found a way, a path forward to get to the White House without Ohio. Joe Biden was the first to do it. And I would think that when you look at the swing state list, we're not on it because of what had transpired. But um, Republicans, they cannot win without coming through Ohio. So they're spending a lot of time, a lot of energy, and that's why you heard Donald Trump mention Ohio a lot.
Mm.
JD Vance is from Ohio. He's from down here. So they're going to spend a lot of money, a lot of energy into Ohio. Um, we also have the United States Senate race. Now, what's important is when a person is elected president, okay, in order, when they say stuff's got to get to my desk, there's only, they can sign a law, but it has to come from the Congress and the Senate. Then it gets to the president's desk and they sign it or veto it if they don't like it. Um, but that's the way something becomes law. Now they can do what you call executive order. Now,
Mm-hmm.
executive order is a good temporary fix because the president can sign it. Now it's only going to be in effect as long as that president is there because it's not a law. And so I think that Democrats have been very cautious in the White House over the years and really surpassed Republicans too, as far as doing executive orders. But it is
Mm-hmm.
a tool. It's a tool because you start doing that, you kind of like bypassing the Congress and the Senate, but it's not a law. So when you go, it goes. But
Yeah.
um, we've seen a lot, some of the Republicans use that, say, I'm doing this, I'm not gonna, if the Democrats are in control of the Congress and the Senate, they'll try to do that to bypass them. So one of the things that is important is when you elect the president, we gotta also say we gotta let the Congress people. We got to have the Congress. If
Mm-hmm.
we get the Congress this time, I mean, you're talking about history. If we get the Congress, if we win the Congress,
Mm-hmm.
you will have Hakeem Jeffries, who is the minority leader, who would become the first Black Speaker of the House in the history of the United States of America. So you would have Kamala
Mm-hmm.
as the first Black woman as the president of the United States. You have Hakeem Jeffries as the first Speaker of the House. That would be unbelievable. But
Wow.
we have to win the Congress. We got to win the majority. More importantly, outside of the historical nature, we've got to win the Congress and we've got to hold on to our lead in the Senate. If we can get the Congress and the Senate, we got to move very quickly because Congress runs every 2 years to get as much done. And that's one mistake when President Obama got in. We did have the House, we did have the Senate. We only had the House for 2 years. And then after the 2 years, the Congress people had to run again, even though we still had President Obama. We lost
Mm-hmm.
Congress. And so then the Congress people came in and they were just being hard. The Republicans were in charge. There's going to be a stalemate. We're gonna make sure that he can't get anything done. So hopefully we learn from that. My thing is we win the presidency with Kamala Harris. We win the Congress and keep the Senate. Let's move very swiftly to try to get as much done as possible. So United States senators, they have to run statewide in
Okay.
their states, and they get 6 years. So we've got a race between United States Senator Sherrod Brown, who's a Democrat,
Mm-hmm.
and we have Bernie Moreno, who's running against them as a Republican. The reason the Senate is important is because we can't just get the White House and we lose the Senate, because now we can't get these bills passed. We can't get none of them going through. And then we've got to make sure that every Democrat that does get elected, that we've got to make sure they're going to be a Democrat. They're going to go in and pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. They're going to go in and deal with, with the criminal justice reform, the George Floyd bill. It's time to get some things moving and grooving. So we got to make sure that we don't lose. If we lose the Sherrod Brown, we lose a seat that would go toward a lot of the issues, hopefully, to get stuff passed. If we lose Greg Landsman, congressman, we lose a seat. Now we don't have the numbers to take the majority so we can control the Speaker of the House. Speaker of the House controls what bills get to move, who gets to be over the committees, when do they move. So all of that is necessary when I talked about we have to have a team. Now we got the Washington team.
Yeah.
But let me show you, you got to have the people on the ground. You can't say, oh, I just do the president and I get out of there. No, you better not get out of there, because when they get the money, for example, the American Rescue money, they gave $158 million to Hamilton County. Now, when I got elected, I got there. I said, wait a minute. COVID was still there. We had this money. And my whole career, I've never been able to help in terms of the funding. We always said, I ain't got no money and we broke and we can't do it. And I was always in the minority politically. Now we're in the majority. There's 3 Democrats, even though we have, we have differences. It's not going to always be the same. But I was able to get a 513 relief bus to say, hold on, let's get this money to the people. And when I first got there, the guy gave a testimony to our committee at the county, and he said, nobody's calling. We're going to have to get this money back to Washington. $100 million. I said, no, you ain't. Wait, what you mean they not calling? They didn't know to call. They didn't know about the information. So we were able to put $40 million to affordable housing. We were able to be able to get $100 million done for rental assistance. $100 million? Never done before. I don't know if we'll ever have a chance again. But $100 million, it's not going back to Washington. This money going to the people. And so that's why the bus was so important. The relief-a-thon is what I first did, which is kind of like a 2-hour special to tell people, here's where you go, here's where it is. We created a portal. So now you got a 513relief.org, which I think, over 400,000 people have gone to now. I wanted to make sure we get the money to the people. So that's what I say about a team. There were other counties, right, that elected some people that wasn't in tune with Washington. So they said, we're going to send the money back. So their folks, I got people calling me, can't the bus come to my county and whatever? No, you voted. I can only do Hamilton County. You voted for the wrong people. So that's why the county matters. And a lot of times we don't understand county government. And I'll be honest with you. Before I ran, when God told me, let's go for county, I said, are you serious? What are we doing over here? But now that I've gotten over here, I've done research, I've uncovered some things. I'm shaking up this system that's been around 234 years and has locked so many people out. Everyday people were being locked out. Only thing they want you to do is if you owe some SNAP benefits, they might, or you owe some child support. Or you on your way to court. You didn't know anything about what this county do, right? So we can't change a 234-year system in one term. And county commissioners are elected every 4 years. And 2 of the positions are on the ballot every presidential year. So the one that I'm in is every presidential year. And then one of the commission seats only runs during the gubernatorial year. So that's kind of how it kind of staggers. We do not run against each other. It's not like City Hall, 50 people run in the top 9. That's not how it's like a boxing match. It's a one-on-one. So I have an opponent that is a Republican, and we in the ring, and we box. And then my colleague, she has an opponent, and she's boxing that person. We're not running against each other. So there's no sense of really getting mad at each other. Or, we might disagree on issues, but we don't run against each other, nor are we allowed to talk to each other. Now, what is that about? Well, if there's a majority, you cannot have that a private meeting. So it's only three of us. So if two are talking, that's a majority. So that's why we're not allowed to talk to each other. We have an administrator who goes to each of us. And sometimes that's tough because you don't know what they're saying to this one and that one and this one. And so it's a different way to navigate. But my point is, you can't just go and say, I got the White House, get your dress for the inauguration, and then later on say, man, I nothing's happening. Well, nothing may not be happening because you did not select a team that is at every level. And the ones closest, which is the local people, is ones you really need to know about because we're closer to you. We're at the bottom of the ballot, but we're the closest to the people. So that's what we got to be a little smarter this time. Okay, you got us last time. Okay, we got to the White House. You got us. We was at the inauguration and we had the gowns and the celebration. But then you made it very hard for him to get these things done because you took the Congress. You went over to the Senate. Oh, the local people I never paid attention to. No, we're going to be smarter this time. And so that's why a team is very important.
I think that's important. That was the question I was going to ask you when you talked about team. How, like, what, as far as how does that go? So not just the cabinet, but every state.
Yes.
And so having the right team there.
Having the right team. Now the president of the United States will select their team to be working in their cabinet. So they'll have their chief of staff and secretary of these different departments. And that's great. I'm talking about how do we get policy and legislation and delivery. And, it's like when people, it's so amazing. We go and play fantasy football. We picked our team. I need somebody to play this position. I need somebody to play that position. And you come up with who you think is the best to play those positions. A lot of people play the, basketball, and they going to pick their people. Who's going to be the best person for this position, the best person for that position. We have to be the same way when it comes to politics, government. Who is the best people for us to have in certain places to make the delivery and complete the task? And that's very important. So, like I said, this time you're going to have judges on there. You're going to have, don't wait till you get to the courthouse to meet the judges. And they say, oh man, once they put that black robe on, that's a whole different thing. You need to meet them now and put the right ones in that's going to be fair. At the same time, we have a county, and this is not the city hall election. That'll be next year. But you need to know who the county government is because Washington gave us the money. And it was up to the counties. There's 88 counties in Ohio alone, but there's counties all over the country, right? Every state is made up the same way almost. So it was up to us. If we didn't have, if, coming in and me pushing for this 513 relief bus, it might have been a different story. We might have been sending money back to Washington. It may not have gotten to you. So representation does matter, but you got to have it at every level. If it didn't get to you, you can't go. You're gonna call the president of the United States? No, you're gonna call your county commissioner. You're gonna call your local government person, and so that's why you got to have a team. And then when I say team, it doesn't mean that when she selects her team, she's selecting a team herself, the president. So she will select the team. But you will select the Congress. Who's the best people that's going to get it done? Not your friends. Your friends are people who are going to get it done, or either they're not your friends. And so you've got to say, who's going to be the strongest? Who's going to fight for my causes? Who's going to make sure that I'm going to be okay? Who's going to fight for my kids? Who's going to fight for me to be able to hold on to my house or me able to get a house? Who's going to be the one that will stand up if they have to stand by themselves. That's how you pick your team. And that's why I said, if I couldn't have done 513 relief bus if we didn't have President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris to release the money, and Congress to release the money originally, I couldn't have done it. I wouldn't have nothing to deliver. So that's why I say you have to understand that you have a chance to vote. You got to put your fantasy team in, and select your best team.
Yeah, and it's very true. I know I've spent the last few nights, the more that I've been getting involved with just politics and policies and who's running, looking up the people that are running on both sides. And these are real people. They have social media pages, they have websites. You can do your research to really get a feel of who you're going to vote for. So you won't get to the ballot, because most of the times people, when it comes to the presidential elections, they're focused on who they're going to vote for president. And then when they get to the ballot, because I've been one of those people, I didn't know who else to vote for after that, because I wasn't aware of what that judge was or who this person is. And so it's really important to find out who's running. And there, you can Google it. I just Googled who's running in Ohio, in Cincinnati or Hamilton County or Ohio, and it'll give you all that information. You can find it. So definitely do your research so you'll know who you're putting into office. Because again, at the end of the day, it affects every level. We talk about prison reform. You got to have the right judges, the right prosecutors, all of that stuff. You got to find the right people.
You got to have the right people. And let me say that one of our episodes, as it becomes available, I'd love for us to pull up the ballot, the actual ballot. You can see it before you go in, and you can use it as a practice. So when you walk in, you kind of already have, it'll have how it's going to look on your ballot. And I'm concerned, so I advocate this. I advocate you look for Alicia Reece first, because I might be on the third page at the bottom. I don't want y'all to say I'm wore out, I'm tired, I saw a lot of words and it wore me out, and I didn't see you on there. So one of the things I'm saying, look, if you support me, look for me first, color it in, and then let's work the ballot back up, because there's no telling where I'm going to end up. But on one of the shows, I want us to be able to pull the ballot up. We'll be able to pull it up. You can see it, the actual ballot. Not, I know that my party, Democratic Party, I certainly support the sample ballot. We have a sample ballot. So if you want to go Democrats, we got the whole ballot up and down and make it easy for you. But also you can get to see what the ballot really is going to look like. Is it going to be 2 pages, front and back? Is it 3 pages? So that you're not intimidated when you go in. It's kind of like Kamala. Let's get prepared. She was prepared. And so that really helps to understand what are the issues that are on there. What's the ballot going to look like, to take away all the things that might be, intimidating. And then you might be in a rush, and, we want to make sure that you see it. Now, I always, encourage to, vote everything. But you don't have to vote in every category. If it's something you don't feel comfortable, you can skip it and it don't mess up your ballot. Now, I'm not advocating for that. But if you feel uncomfortable, there's things you want to vote for, people you want to vote for, you have the right to go in and vote for those people. And you don't feel, it's not a test in school where you're going to get graded and you've got to finish the test. Only thing you have to do is make sure you color the people you want to vote for, the issues you want to vote for, all the way in. So some people feel pressured maybe it's an issue you don't feel comfortable with. You don't have to vote in every category. So wanted to emphasize that. But at the same time, I support, completing a ballot. That's why I would tell you to get the information early on. And we have a sample ballot, like I said, the Democratic Party. You got to get that early because they're trying to make it where we can't. Usually people depend on us to be at the Board of Elections, and we hand you the Democratic ticket. They're trying to make it tough for us to do that. So get the ballot early. Get the sample ballot, the Democratic sample ballot, and you can bring it with you. So those are kind of, some of the, just trying to take down some of the barriers that people might feel intimidated when they're asked to vote. And you could get this ballot in advance, and it's just a test ballot. You can't turn it in or whatever, but you can get it in advance. Take it there. So when you go, all you got to do is match up, because you've done your homework in advance.
Yeah, and that's very informative information. So I just got one question before we wrap up. So, it's a lot of people, because I ask people questions and I get their feedback. Some people don't even want to vote this election because they're not happy with either candidates, or they do vote and they're like, oh, I voted for them and nothing happened. Again, you're saying it takes the right team, but how can citizens keep our officials accountable for the things they say they're going to do for us? When they say, I'm going to focus on this, I'm going to focus on that. What are some things you think that citizens can do to make sure that those officials that we vote and elect into office to represent us actually do? Because some people, they say, is they call it politicking. Sometimes you'll say you do everything. I'm about to give you ice cream, whipped cream with some sprinkles on top, and then they get in and it's like you don't hear anything else about the things they talk about. So what would be some guidelines to help us so when we vote for you, we can support your initiatives, but as well as hold you accountable to do what you said you'll do for us?
Yeah. Well, a couple things. I am a proponent of voting. We get excited about things that don't really change our lives, but we love them. We get excited about sports and your team loses, but you say, I'm not giving up on football, the NFL. You say, we got to get some better drafts next year, or they got to practice more. And every year you got high hopes that your team is going to go to the Super Bowl. If you're a basketball fan, you don't always win. Any sport, I'm a big sports fan. You don't always win, but I never hear people saying, I'm giving up on the sport. Now, these sports are very nice, but unless you're playing in it or on the team or you're the coach or you're on payroll, it doesn't necessarily change your life. Unless you're somebody in your family make the NBA or whatever, that changes your life. But I'm talking about the masses of people, the ones that watch the games on TV and all these things. We do it and we put a lot into it, and that's great. But it's the same way in life that you don't always win, but you don't give up. You keep going and you keep fighting. So you may go and vote for someone and your candidate didn't win, but you went and put your foot down in terms of making sure that your voice was documented. And it doesn't cost you anything. It's absolutely free. But people died for us to have this. And I know people say, oh, I hear that all the time. And that's why we're going through the things we're going through now. And we're like, man, stuff is going back. It's going back because we relaxed. It's going back because we benefited. We benefited from being able to go to any hotel we want to, any restaurant we want to. We benefited from scholarships and opportunities. We benefited from going and getting employment and big jobs. And we say we did it because it was our resume and our hard work, but people had to fight for them to even read your resume. People had to fight to even look at your credentials. People weren't even looking at our credentials. So we're going back because we got too laxed. And they're hoping that people will be sleep. Now, is it perfect? No, nothing's perfect. That's why we got to keep working, because we wanted to get better. Now, it's hard, believe me. There's many days. I'm like, Lord, because I'm about a God's assignment. I said, God, you gave me this assignment. Now you should have I told you I wanted the Oprah assignment so I could really save the world. I want to have my own media company. I could save the world. But God put me in another position to help people. So I'm in the helping people business. And I think that we look for perfection, and perfection is not attainable biblically. It's just not attainable.
Yeah.
But we can work to be the best we can be. And I think that there's no way that I'm going to allow people to take money out of my check for taxes. No way that I'm going to go to the grocery store and pay the sales tax. There's no way I'm going to go to a concert and I pay admissions tax. There's no way that it's time for Uncle Sam and the IRS to get my money. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have no say. No, I'm going to exercise my right to vote. Because one, I can't lose nothing. What am I losing? I'm not losing. I ain't got to pay no money for it. It's the one day that the billionaires and the broke folks, like myself and others, regular folks, we're equal on that day. That's the only day we equal. That's the only day they got one vote and so do I. So if it was unimportant, people say, oh man, it's not important. And all day we talking about a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people. I want to make some money and I want to be a mogul and I'm gonna have my own business and all the things that people I hear a lot of people talking about. It all requires the government.
Yeah.
If Elon Musk is concerned about who's gonna be the president of the United States, why wouldn't we? Why is this man Donald Trump that claim he's a so-called billionaire, but it's questionable? But why is he so concerned getting to the White House? Why didn't he just stay in business? If it's not important. If it's not important. Why? Because they want to get there and control the rules and the regulations. They want to get there to make sure they don't have to pay and their billionaire friends, but you. Everyday people trying to start your business, trying to get going. They want to make sure you pay.
Yeah.
But you can vote. You so much you don't care. You staying at home. You so much it ain't got nothing to do with you. COVID came and it got down to the barber and the beauty shop level. The governor, who most people didn't even participate in the governor's race, if they're going to be honest with themselves, didn't go and vote and got to be looking at the TV tubes at 2:00. Girl, turn it on. Am I going to be able to open up this beauty shop today? Brothers, someone, am I going to be able to cut hair today? It's affecting your pockets. Now you know who the governor is, but you didn't participate. So my whole point is we're very good at stating the problems. Now, let me say this. We do have people that run and don't keep their promises. Okay. But then there's a select group of us who try to, but when you get there, it's hard.
Yeah.
When you get in, you ain't got the right team. You got to go in here now. I knew when I went to the county, I got to fight because for 234 years, we didn't even know what they was doing. My own mother, I was a little girl. I watched her cry because she got accepted for the job at the county and she passed the test and then she shows up and they say we made a mistake when they see what she is. They said you got the wrong party. She's a Democrat and she's black and a female. Came home crying. Now I'm only one generation from that. And now I'm back as the president of the Hamilton County Commission. Right. So when I get there, I can't be naive to think, oh my God, we had to fight to get here. We had to overcome so much in the election to get here. And now when I get in there, you think they're going to just, okay, Reece, here's the keys. No, they're going to fight to keep their power, fight to keep rubber stamps. That's what they were having down there for 234 years. They going to fight to shut me up. Fight to now this election, don't give her any money. Squeeze her. Make it tough for everything she gets. And then when she get ready to run, we're hoping that the people that vote won't vote. They'll say they tired. They'll say they ain't trying to come out.
Yeah.
They'll say all kind of reasons I couldn't make it. They won't check and the ones that do vote, them older folks, they ain't gonna check their voter registration. Who gonna show them how to use the iPhone? Who's gonna tell them that they're being targeted? So if we can get 10% of her voters to be disqualified, then another candidate, my opponent, who you don't know, ain't seen, ain't done nothing, he gonna ease tiptoe in. He think he gonna tiptoe in with Donald Trump. Let me ease on it, and then y'all wake up talking about, man, what happened? I mean, where's Alicia Reece at? What's going on here? When did all this go down? We got to be smarter than that, and so that's why this election, understanding that government is complex, taking on a system is complex. I can't go down there in 4 years and turn around a 234-year system. Now I did a whole lot more than I thought I would be able to pull off, thanks to God. But you got to get in there. You got to learn the system. You got to fight the system. So we do need people that's willing to stand up.
Yeah.
Right? So you do have people who don't stand up. They're coming in there, they're getting a seat, they're getting a check, and putting their outfits on and walking around saying, let me give you a wave. Don't learn the system. Don't let the people know that, wait a minute, y'all work for me now. And the people want this. A lot of people don't want to fight that kind of fight because that's a tough fight. So I can't speak for everyone, but it also goes both ways. If you don't vote, then they don't have to even talk to you. Say, man, don't even talk to that crowd because they ain't voting. It's like showing up at the airport and you ain't got no driver's license and no passport. The airline, the airline people ain't talking to you. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting past security to get to a plane. So why do you think that you cannot vote and think everybody's going to have an appointment with you and talk with you to death? And so those are the kinds of things. The other thing is when we vote, we need to understand the different branches of government.
Yeah.
You know, you don't call me at the county talking about the garbage ain't been picked up. I can't do nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? I've had that. When I worked for a congressman before, they called a congressional office. You know, they ain't shoveled the snow on my street. I mean, that's not what they do. So we've got to also educate. Here are the things that are in my area that I do. And then these other things, let me send you to the people that do those things. Don't just do it because Alicia Reece happens to be accessible. I can't, so I'm educating, activating, and motivating. But without your power, without your voting power, you got two powers, particularly in the Black and minority communities. You have consumer power.
Yeah.
Right? That's why people say, oh, we're going to boycott this. They're going to, but you got to make sure you're really drying up the money. You can't just tell much you boycott and everybody's still shopping at the place. You have no, right? They're not taking you serious. So that's not a word you just throw around. That's a last resort. Right. And then you have your voting power. Consumer is the highest power because it has no age limit. Voting, you got to be a certain age. But then there's your voting power. And if they know you ain't, man, I ain't got to talk to that crowd. They ain't voting. I done already got them by default.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's like you go and play sports and they say, we're going to forfeit the game. You have already forfeited. I got the W. And I ain't even got to play the game. I ain't got to go out there and fight for it, hustle for it, work for it, because you have forfeited. And I already got your vote by forfeiting. So that's why, to me, you got to get out here and vote. You ain't got nothing. What do you got to lose? It's one time that they're going to talk to you.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think is important. Is it perfect? No, nothing's perfect, but we've got to keep fighting to make it better.
Yep. You ain't gonna know unless you try.
Right.
You're not gonna know unless you try.
And
So
you got to
make
do
sure.
it more than one time. You ain't
Yep.
voted, and I voted, and I didn't get no results. Are you kidding me? Are you?
It
It's like
takes
walking
time.
on the field. I came in one game, and I never practiced, and I didn't win. You got it's we can't just have President Obama one term, two terms. I mean, this country's been in existence. You know what I'm saying? And we come in with one term, and you're supposed to turn it all around in 50 seconds. No, come on. Let's get real. This is an ongoing, everyday fight with consistency,
Yeah.
and that's very important.
Yeah. So that's a lot of insightful information, a lot of educational points. It makes me want to go back and watch Schoolhouse Rock so you can really understand
Yeah.
how the government works together and the checks and balances. But I hope you guys have been enjoying this episode. Make sure you tune in every Thursday. We'll be back with more insight, encouraging you to make sure you double check your voter ID so you'll be ready to vote. Early voting starts October 6th. I think is
Early
it the 6th?
voting, no, starts October the 8th.
October 8th. Okay.
Yeah,
You got to
October
register
8th
to
is
vote by the 6th.
exactly, yes.
Yes,
And
October 8th, early voting. So
yes.
we just want to make sure that everyone's prepared so you can make the right decision for yourself. As we wrap up, I know, Commissioner, you have been everywhere. I know every time I look on social media, you at the baseball games, at press conferences, at speaking engagements. You've been definitely been out making yourself visible and letting people know that you're there. I hear you have an event coming up next week.
You have an
I'm
event
sure.
coming up on Wednesday, um, September 18th. And I want to thank my good friend, retired Judge Fanon Rucker, Esquire, who is hosting this for me. Now, we have to get our money from the people. You want somebody to be free enough to stand up for the people? Well, we've got to get our money from the people. And it's a little tougher. So we've got some radio spots we've got to get out, more yard signs. So if you could stop by, please come on by. It's going to be great. I want to thank the Honorable Fanon Rucker for hosting it. But it's open, and again, we're raising funds to be able to get our message out these last couple weeks, because we got 3 weeks before we start voting, so we've got to get our message out, and it's very important. So hope everybody can stop by, and I would appreciate it.
That's super awesome. Yeah, make sure that you are there. And congratulations, you have a new Facebook page. I don't know
Yes.
if you guys have been following Commissioner Reece's pages or if you watch Channel 5 locally here in Cincinnati. But her Facebook page was hacked. Her Hamilton County Commissioner page was hacked. And it is bizarre what they have done on that page. But I'm happy to see that you're back visible. You have a new page and somewhere where we can go and be able to support you. So make sure if you're on Facebook that you go and follow Alicia Reece, Hamilton County Commissioner President. Follow and just stay in tune and support. Most important thing. And then last thing, again, Cincy Black Travel, we do have a major event coming up. You'll be able to see the commissioner there. Hopefully she can still attend. But we have Wallow 267 coming to Cincinnati on October 3rd. He just released a new book on September 10th called Armed with Good Intentions. And it's a memoir of his life. Wallow, if you do not know, he's the co-host of $1 Million Worth of Game. And he spent 20 years in prison from the age of 17. And he got out about, I want to say in 2017. And from there, one of the top podcasts in the nation. He's a millionaire. He has several brands. He's a YouTube advisor for YouTube. And from him to be a prisoner, felon, and come out and make a difference, that's just great inspiration that we can do it too. So we're excited to bring him to Cincinnati. Cincy Black Travel is sponsoring it to share his book. You can purchase the book. You can get a picture with him, and you can get your book signed. So make sure if you're interested, go to cincyblacktravel.com. The event will be October 3rd at Love on 4th.
I've been a big proponent of what is now called reentry. It was called Second Chance, and people turning their lives around. We have a reentry office. And when I was at the State House, well, actually, when I was at City Council, Rob Portman, who was a Republican, was a congressman, and he was pushing a second chance along with our good sister who was up at Cleveland, who passed away. She also co-sponsored it, and I hosted the first what they call ex-offender town hall meeting at the Lincoln Center. Wow. And people were telling me when I was there, they was like, it's gonna be problems, and it's not gonna be this and this. And we had all the services to help people, and we had 700 people. And out of that came a office at the CAA. That's where my office was. People were coming to me. I said, let's get a list of people who are hiring people. So we finally got an office at the Community Action Agency, and we put $1.2 million to a program to help turn people around. And then it grew. Then I ended up at the State House. President Black Caucus had helped put the funding locally so that the counties, and Hamilton County was one of the first to have a reentry office. Deanna Hoskins had started it out, and we have a very robust reentry office now. And so Second Chance, people turning their lives around, I definitely support the ones that want to turn their lives around. So that's, that the book, and I know hopefully Director Trina Jackson with reentry should definitely connect because we do have a robust reentry program.
That is really amazing. And one thing I learned at the watch party last night is that if you are a felon, and it's a lot of new rules when it comes of you being able to vote. So I know people thinking that if they were a felon or an ex-felon, they can't vote. You definitely have rights. And I know in another episode, we'll go deeper into that so you can just be really informed. But that's a whole population of people who think they can't vote. Yes, you can. So make sure you double check that voter ID.
In Ohio, you can vote. Yes.
Yes, so that was really awesome. So again, Commissioner, I thank you so much for just taking the time. I know you're super busy, but to get on here and just share with us your knowledge, your insight, and just really help break down just our government and how things work, so we have a better way of organizing as a people, so we can, support those who support us. I'm really enjoying this series. I hope you guys enjoy this series. If you have questions that you want us to answer, just make sure you comment. We'll be watching and we'll be answering them in the next episode. Do you have any closing remarks or thoughts before we wrap up?
No, the countdown is on, and it is now in the people's court. It's in your hands. And so now you got a chance to do something about it by exercising your right to vote, but we got to make sure you got the right tools. Don't go out there on the football field. You don't have no shoulder pads. You got to have the right tools because we don't want you turned away. So double check your ID. And Azizah, thank you so much for doing this. It's enjoyable for me. And it also allows me to, some of this stuff, I've been at this stuff for, almost 30 years now, and just growing up in it, not necessarily elected. And you help me remember some stuff because sometimes when you just out here working, you kind of forget. And it's important to remember because it gives you extra energy to fight when those times when you're like, ooh, man, it's rough. It gives you that extra like, oh no, we got more work to do. So thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, it's definitely my honor and something that I just love to do, just informing and impacting our community. Make sure you tune in next week. We'll have another episode with another amazing topic, and we're going to help guide you to the road to November. So when you're ready to vote, you know what's going on. So thank you so much, Commissioner, and to everyone else, enjoy.